Like, I think that reaching out and just like connecting with followers is like, to me personally, is extremely important.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning into the Why Influence podcast, where we interview influencers about their why and their motivation for influencing. I'm your host, Jeremy Siegel. Today, our guest is Andrew from Wrench Every Day. He has a YouTube channel in the automotive niche. At the time of recording the episode, he had 80,000 subscribers with 2.5 million YouTube views. A couple weeks later, here I'm putting together the episode and ready for the podcast launch. He's got 96,000 subscribers and 3.8 million views. That's huge growth. He's active on Instagram and he also has a podcast. Without giving any more spoilers, let's just jump into the interview. Until then, enjoy the beautiful intro music.
Welcome to the Why Influence podcast, where we deep dive into the why behind some of the world's most influential people. Why do you influence? Why are you an influencer? We hope to inspire you to share your voice with the world. And now, your host, Jeremy Siegel.
Andrew, thanks for coming on the show. Before we jump into your why, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your background. What did you do before becoming a social media influencer?
So I graduated from the University of North Florida up in Jacksonville with a bachelor's in photography and a minor in graphic design. In my professional career, I've always kind of had jobs that deal with social media, more like the creative side of things. I was the corporate media manager for an indoor go-kart company for a couple of years. I was the social media manager in Juku Racing for almost a year. So I've tried to stay in that sort of marketing creative space just because that's what I enjoy, and I try not to have jobs that I don't like.
While you were at these jobs doing social media marketing, did you have any personal social media presence?
The companies that I worked for did have, absolutely had a social presence. I was pretty much 100% behind the scenes.
Okay, so your personal presence was pretty much non-existent at the time. Can you tell us a little bit about your current status of social media influence?
The two platforms that I use most commonly are YouTube and Instagram. I'm still, in the infancy stages of learning all this sort of stuff. Freddy is the Jedi Master. I'm the Padawan, if we're going to stick with Star Wars analogies. Even to think of myself as a social media influencer feels like jumping the gun because I feel like I'm still learning the ropes. Those are the two platforms I use the most. It's mostly YouTube. It's mostly my nerd stuff. On my Instagram, I'm really big into, I post pictures of my Gundam models and I do live streams when I'm building my Gundam models. So all of my anime friends can join. We can hang out and build Gundam models together. But I have started using Instagram more for the channel. And I think we actually have an Instagram account for the channel itself. We just haven't used it because we're really good at this stuff.
Okay, so you're mainly on YouTube, but it's my understanding you also have a podcast?
On the YouTube channel, which is Wrench Every Day, we have the podcast, which is called Car Guys Talk. And then we have the videos of the other miscellaneous car-related builds, reviews, and so on.
Andrew, thank you for giving us a quick overview of your background. So let's jump into your why. As someone who didn't have any social presence, what prompted you to start sharing online?
So the main why for me is working for myself, having a flexible schedule. I am in Central Florida, as is the rest of my entire family. And it's really important to me to have that flexible schedule so that I'm able to spend time with my family, help them out when they need it. Sleeping in is nice sometimes too.
When you started Wrench Every Day, was it intended to be a passion side project, or did you start it with the conscious choice to become an influencer?
It started definitely as kind of a side project, though very quickly became basically a second full-time job. We started the channel when I worked at Injuku. It was a nice kind of creative outlet. I definitely liked my job at Injuku, but I missed being creative for creative sake. Instead of having to make content for goals and views and that sort of stuff, I just wanted to kind of just do it for fun. Within, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, it became basically a second full-time job.
Oh, wow. So in 2 to 3 weeks, your personal social media felt like a second full-time job. Can you describe the moment when you realized you've reached a critical mass and you were onto something bigger? Was there a moment that you were like, oh man, I'm really onto something?
Yeah, when I put in my 2 weeks at Injuku because I was going to become a full-time YouTuber, that's kind of when it set in. This was, I'd say, 6 or 7 months in. We had reached, I think at that point, close to 35 or 40,000 subscribers. We're currently sitting at like around 76, I think. We had become monetized and we had started making, a little money here and there. And I saw the potential of the YouTube channel and then doing this full time that I decided to just kind of jump in feet first. And it's been terrifying and rewarding ever since.
All right, before you gave your 2-week notice, when you were contemplating this decision to go full time with YouTube, what was going through your head?
Mostly just kind of like whimpering and or screaming noises, because becoming self-employed kind of stepping off that cliff and diving in 100%. I'd say it's like 3% excitement and 95% dread and terror. Those percentages have since changed. I've kind of gotten used to it. It's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
I know you're newer to being an influencer, and I know you don't feel like you quite relate to that term, but with 80,000 subscribers and over 2.5 million views in your first year, I'd say you have some level of influence. How would you say that being a content creator for yourself has changed you during the short time you've been doing it? Thinking about who you were before this jump to full-time YouTuber and who you are today.
I'm more relaxed. There isn't the stress of having to get up and go to a 9-to-5 job. Not that working at Injuku was stressful in the least. That was actually a really awesome job and provided me a lot of really great opportunities. But it's just kind of having that freedom of, again, just kind of work when you want, which is a lot. I feel like I have a bit more motivation and drive to kind of start projects and finish projects. It's more motivating knowing that my success is completely determined by my own output.
As an entrepreneur myself, I can definitely relate to your feelings from transitioning out of a full-time job into full-time self-employment. Congrats on making that jump. That's not easy. Jumping to the next question, what's the most memorable story up to this point about someone you've influenced? Has anyone reached out to you and told you how they were impacted by something you've done or something you've said? Or is there a story that you have about someone you've influenced, maybe even unintentionally?
So I'd say a few months ago, I was live streaming while building one of my super sweet Gundam models. Started talking to someone in the chat as I was building. Come to find out he lived very, very close to where I live, like less than 10 minutes. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop the stream. Let's go to like Starbucks. Let's hang out. It was really cool because my buddy, Kenny, we ended up becoming good friends and we talk all the time now. And it's weird because, again, I do not see myself as an influencer. I'm still very new to this whole thing, but he told me that like I was basically one of his favorite YouTubers. And I'm just like, bro, I'm just a car nerd, man. Like, ain't no special about this little white boy. I'm just doing YouTube videos, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, we just started hanging out. It's just like, I think that reaching out and just like connecting with followers is like, to me personally, is extremely important.
Wow, what a unique way to build community. That's pretty awesome that you stopped midstream to meet someone local at a Starbucks. I'm going to shift gears a little bit here. Something entrepreneurship has in common with content creators is the battle of staying self-motivated. Have you ever struggled with motivation since you've been sharing your content online?
It's kind of a constant battle for me. Once I get the ball rolling and once I get going on it, it's very easy for me to dig in and just get it done. But there are definitely times that the bed's real comfortable or just one more episode or something along those lines. With great freedom comes great responsibility, I guess, because you get addicted, that freedom and the ability to do basically whatever you want, whenever you want. It's something that I feel like I'm starting to kind of get a grip on. I'm starting to understand what my habits are so I can quell them and just get it done.
I like that. With great freedom comes great responsibility. All right, if you don't have anything, it's not a big deal, but I'd like to dig a little bit deeper here. Do you have a specific example of a time that you struggled and what you did to power through it?
I do definitely suffer from depression. That's a real thing that, I'm not special. A lot of people suffer with different levels of depression. So yeah, that's just kind of something that I try not to let affect me. One thing that really helps me personally, if I'm kind of in a rut, it's hard for me to get started on something. I have my drum set up on my back porch. I try to play a couple hours a day. Just hopping on there, distracting myself with some super sick like death metal tunes or something, just to kind of work out some of that aggression, some of that sadness, express myself musically. I'm able to get back on track. That really does help immensely for me.
I think everybody needs an outlet like that. Banging on drums is a great way to shift your mind into the moment.
Big time. Or Gundam models, seriously, like it's a zen. You kind of get in the zone, you focus in on it. Everything's good because you're building a giant robot.
I mean, who wouldn't be good if they were building a giant robot? All right, we talked about motivation, but I'd like to ask, what do you find most challenging about being a content creator?
I'd say just coming up with content, coming up with ideas that you think will be interesting and engaging. And then once you come up with said ideas, finding ways to present those ideas, present them in an entertaining and engaging way. So you have to kind of get over both of those little obstacles. But once you get an idea and you kind of plan it out, you sit down, you write kind of like a brief outline or script. That's one of those catalysts that start the process along.
Speaking of presenting those ideas, creating videos is a lot of work. It's one thing to record it, it's another to actually edit it and get it online. I noticed that one of your most recent videos about dyno tuning your Focus, the content was from a couple weeks prior to when you listed it online. Do you mind sharing the process you went through after filming everything? What are the steps involved to taking content and getting it ready to post online?
So from filming to posting, the two biggest hurdles are arranging the content in a way that will create a story with a beginning, middle, and end. You want some kind of payoff or difference at the end of the video as opposed to the beginning. And then the second part is just sitting on them sweet little buns, using the Premiere and just editing, just get through it. That video, it kind of got shelved a little bit because of the trip to California, helping around the shop, doing stuff here and there after we got back, and just a couple life things. Once I sat down, I had about, I'd say 25-30% of that video done before I left for California. So to come back and see what I had done and to kind of go through the footage and see what I had yet to do definitely kind of paved the way and gave me a clearer picture as to where I wanted to go with the video and how I wanted it to be presented. That video, it's very information dense. So it's not like, YouTube banger, had 300,000 views in like 3 days sort of thing. But the people that have seen it have given positive feedback. So it was a lot of fun to hang out and film that. And we're very fortunate to know somebody that has a dyno. It was very enjoyable process. Even the editing, you go through the footage and kind of relive that instance, that occasion that you were filming. So it was kind of fun. Like a lot of the footage, I had totally forgotten what had happened while we were there, mostly because, we're running on an hour and a half of sleep. But in the end, I really enjoyed the final product. It's just, over half an hour long of very, very dense technical jargon.
I think anyone who's done content creation can relate to shelving and to the level of effort it takes to edit something, especially something from a technical standpoint. What's inspiring you most about the future? As far as your channel goes and your social presence goes, what kind of goals and dreams do you have?
So it's totally car-centric. Just the ability to work on cars that I've never worked on or been around, and the potential to be comfortable enough to start a collection similar to that of Freddie's, just hopefully with a few more running cars than he has. That being said, of course, I'm on the lookout for a first generation RX-7 right now. I used to have one a few years ago and I miss it dearly. So I would like to make that a car on the channel. I don't think that Rob Dahm should be the only guy that has the corner of the market for the rotary stuff on YouTube. So hoping to kind of cash in on that a little bit. And just like the road trip we just did, that sort of stuff, that's what I live for. Just being able to travel and go meet people, meeting everyone that we encountered, the guys from Smoking Tire, Matt and Zach, all the guys at Salamandra, Alejandro, Farghini, Buddy, that whole crew, meeting Rob Dahm and Jarrett, like all those guys out there, like I've been subscribed to for years. And so to get to this point where I'm now going out to meet them and I'm meeting them as peers, that's wild. That's still like, we'll scroll back through my Instagram feed of the photos that I took when I was in California. And I'm just like, man, that really happened. Oh my God. It's wild. I mean, when I worked at Injuku, I reached out to a bunch of local YouTubers, Freddie included. I'd been subscribed to his channel for a couple of years. So it's, again, someone that I enjoy. Every time he uploads a video, I'm at home, I'll take time, I'll grab lunch or whatever, and I'll sit down and I'll watch Tavares on YouTube. It's still part of my routine. He thinks it's really weird. I don't care. I'm still a fan of his content. So, and that's kind of a surreal thing for me. And I don't think I'll ever get used to it.
That's really cool how you've been able to meet the people you've been following for a while. And not only that, but you're able to interact with them as peers. Here's a question to help our audience. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in becoming an influencer?
Just create. I know that it's hard to think of ideas or stuff that you think that would be interesting. Just grab a camera, your phone, who cares? The video quality doesn't have to be insane. Grab your phone, grab a camera, and start filming. Learn how to edit, watch other YouTubers, take their editing style and grab the stuff that you like from each channel and just put it into your own. Just be energetic, be interesting on camera. I guess it doesn't really matter what the content is as long as you're engaging, and you can make it interesting just by your energy on camera. I think that having gone into this field field and I've started doing this. I've had a couple of friends that have actually started YouTube channels. I'm super stoked. Anytime I have a friend that finds a way to work for themselves and start their own, be it a YouTube channel or business or anything, those are the type of people that I want to be around. That's what inspires me. Other people doing the same thing and kind of taking that leap. So watch YouTubers, get an idea of what works, what doesn't work, what do you like about their channel, and just basically emulate that and put your own spin on it and just content. Just start creating. Doesn't matter if your views don't go over 50 for the first couple of months or even the couple of years. Honestly, I got kind of lucky working with Freddie. I kind of already had an in, but it's important that you just do the thing.
Just create. That's great advice. So speaking of your in with Freddie, you started a YouTube channel in January 2018, just over a year ago now. And you have over 80,000 subscribers and over 2.5 million views. I'd say that's pretty successful for your first year YouTubing. What's your secret sauce? Is it having a friend who has an established channel and tapping into that? Or is there anything else that you utilize to get to where you're at so quickly?
Pairing what Freddie has definitely been a positive as far as subscribers and views go. But honestly, I don't know how he looked it up or whatever, but he looked it up and he said that most of it has been organic. It's people that find it on their own, videos that have been popping up in, recommended or in someone's YouTube feed. Our content, it doesn't take itself seriously. We're just a couple of idiots with some tools and some cars that we work on, or at least I would hope that our content, people find it funny and entertaining. And that's one of the main reasons that the channel is growing.
It sounds like the secret sauce is, one, putting content out there. You can't be found without doing that. And two, putting quality content out there. And I think that's what you've done. I've watched several of your videos and thought they were very well done. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you sharing your why here on the Why Influence podcast. I'd like to end the episode with giving you the opportunity to talk about your brand, your social accounts, your podcast, anything else you'd like to share with our audience so people know where to find you and what kind of content they can expect.
Sure, absolutely. So you can find us on YouTube, Wrench Everyday channel. It's 3 separate words, Wrench Everyday. So it's myself and my friend Freddie Hernandez, aka Tavares, working on cars. We have a podcast called Car Guys Talk. We're about to start that back up after a few months hiatus, so stay tuned for that. You can find me on Instagram at Heavy Metal FL, on Twitter at 1565. That's the word 15 and the number 65.
Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey. I hope you have a great remainder of 2019, and I look forward to seeing your audience keep on growing.
Hey, I appreciate it. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, I will be in the Montu family as a customer because there are a couple of cars that I have on my list.
Sounds great. Let me know when you're ready, and I'd be happy to help you get into your dream JDM car. Well, that's the end of the episode. Thanks so much for listening in. Andrew, thanks for coming on the show. I think it's interesting how community is coming up as being such an important aspect to influencing, and how Andrew talked about stopping his live stream to go meet up with one of his viewers at a coffee shop. I think that's a pretty awesome story. I also think that it's pretty cool how Andrew is able to follow a passion of his. He's got a big passion around cars and meeting other people that enjoy cars, and he's had the opportunity to interact with a bunch of car influencers and be seen as peers. Andrew gave advice for new influencers to just create. Grab a camera or your phone, learn how to edit, watch other people to learn your style, bring energy on the camera, and just start creating. And even if you don't get views, just keep on creating. I think that's a very important point to make for people who are aspiring to just get started, because the hardest part is to just start. I think the rate of growth that Andrew's having on his channel is just astounding. I can't wait to see where he is a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, because he's growing so fast and his trajectory is not slowing down. As far as my story of creating this podcast, as I mentioned in previous episodes, I re-recorded myself saying everything in this episode. So what you heard is not what I actually said during the interview. It's what I re-recorded after the interview. And even though it's more concise and more confident, it still sounds off because the energy is not quite like a conversation. It definitely seems like it's recorded after the fact. That's something that I've observed for this episode, the previous one, and same with the one after this. That's why in the first episode, I suggest that you start the most recent episodes and work your way back, because not only am I not re-recording myself, but I'm getting better at interviewing throughout the process of doing this. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end. If you want to learn more about Andrew and find him on social media, just go to our website and go to episode 2. You'll see in the show notes links to all of Andrew's social media, his podcast, his YouTube channel, his Instagram, Twitter, everything is in there. Yeah, just go follow him, check him out, watch his stuff, because he's doing something right, because he's growing very fast. If you're new to the podcast, hit that subscribe button. Go check out the other interviews. There's a ton of value in each interview. Everyone has their unique story and their unique why. If you haven't already, please go to iTunes and search for Why Influence Podcast and leave us a review on iTunes. Those reviews help us bring on bigger and better guests. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.